In the article by Caplan, I wanted to notice this particular line when he said, "The core ethical norm of the medical profession is the principle, do no harm. The only way that removing an organ from someone seems morally defensible is if the donor chooses to undergo the harm of surgery solely to help another, not to make money." Now, my note on this works as follows. Caplan here seems to accept that something like what I'll call A, case A, is wrong. A is where a doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the donor profits financially. So it's no longer exactly a donor. It's it's a donor of an organ, but it's a person who profits financially from giving the organ. It's worth thinking a bit about how Caplan's position may or may not handle similar cases to A when we put them side by side and when we flag the differences, say with capital letters. Here's one. A doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the donor profits financially. B, a doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the doctor profits financially. It's not clear whether Caplan thinks it's wrong for a doctor to make a fee for the service of performing organ transplants. Perhaps Caplan thinks that the difference between A and B is a morally relevant difference. Now consider A doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the donor profits financially, and C, a doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the donor profits non-financially. It's not clear whether Caplan thinks it's wrong for an organ donor to benefit in non-monetary ways for her service of giving an organ, for example, in receiving praise from others. It's possible that Caplan would see a morally relevant difference between A and C. Next, consider A doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the donor profits financially, and D, a doctor surgically harms an organ donor when the donor does not profit at all. This comparison is mentioned for a single reason. If it's always wrong for a surgeon to harm an individual when that individual does not benefit from the harm, then this would seem to rule out both the sale of organs and the donation of organs. The surgical risks to the person giving up the organ, after all, are, I'm assuming, exactly the same. In any case, this is an important and interesting part of Caplan's article.